Righty, welcome to round 6 of the AMS2 Community Cup by justrace.net. Tonight for round 6 we are live at Le Mans, driving GT1 cars. Oh, we're riding on board with Linus as he's just gone for a little spin. Let's find someone else. There's Tinez in his NRT and Club 50 shared livery. So yes, tonight at Le Mans for an hour. It's a 60-minute race, full day and night cycle. Qualifying is going to be private, about a 10-minute session. It's private though, so they don't have to worry about each other on track for that one. Just go flat out. The race is expected to be dry throughout the whole thing. I think we're going to be looking at around about 17 laps at the end of it all. As we check out the KCSR livery here on the McLaren F1 of Glenn. There's probably going to be a one-stop required in this race. The only car that might be able to do a zero-stop would be the Porsche. But I feel that car's quite slow and that would require extreme fuel saving anyway. So it's probably going to be a one-stop all round. Tyres don't really need changing, and they're actually done separately to the fueling, so that'll cost you a lot of time. So it's going to be a very interesting race. It's going to be really close. As you can see at the top there, some of the quick quality times are going to be down in the 3:35s. Race times probably, well, as you can see, a few seconds slower with a full tank of fuel. So we've just got 6 minutes left in the practice session here. Let's go over who's driving tonight in Server 2. So for 10 tenths, we're riding on board with 10 tenths right now. We have Linus and Redacted driving for 10 tenths. AMSU, Frano and Lausanne, Club 50. Chris Bloom and Steve Kenwood, KCSR, Blankfile and Glenn. For MVRC we have Slayer and Minimus. Both JK and Jake Birkenhead are over in Server 1 tonight. So NRT we have Chris H and Tinez, RPM, Roy and Raptor. For RRC we have Daniele Gabardi and Grandpa Bear, who's stepping in for RRC tonight. For SRGP we have Carapau and Nonny Rat. Nonny Rat also filling in for SRGP. He's normally a TRE driver. For Slipstream we have Bill M and MVRC's Pete M, who's filling in for them for Slipstream. And the racing engineers we have Grumpy Old Fart and Tom Goodwrench driving tonight. You'll notice we do not have an SSR team entry. No SSR team entries tonight. They have withdrawn from the championship. We may get into that a little bit later. But for now, let's get hyped for qualifying and the race. We do not have an SSR entry, just confirming. Checking out this lovely blue Mercedes of Lausanne. AMSU. You could seat a large family on that rear wing, I think. So there's 4 minutes left in this practice session now. So as I say, qualifying's a 10-minute session and it's private. So they don't have to worry about each other. But they do have to worry about the fact that the laps are minimum 3.5 minutes long. So over 10 minutes, you're not really going to have too many chances. You really can't afford to be making mistakes on any of these laps. You don't really want to be leaving too much margin because, well, that's lap time essentially, and that's grid positions at the start of the race. So, but also, if you don't leave a little margin, you may not actually set a good lap time. You may just make a few too many mistakes. It's going to be crucial here to keep it all together over this monstrous lap here at Le Mans in France. Home to the 24-hour of Le Mans. Tonight we're just racing over 60 minutes. It is a full day and night cycle though. As we check out Chris H of NRT. Let's jump on board as he's driving the Nissan R390 GT1. Beautiful little ship light there sitting inside the steering wheel. As we're coming into the Porsche curves. Beautiful black, yellow and white Porsche of SRGP there, driven by Nonny Rat. As I said before, normally a racing engineers driver, Nonny Rat, filling in here for SRGP. It's good to see the community spirit in the AMS2 Community Cup. Teams willing to help each other out and fill in and give it their all, no matter if they're driving for their own team or not. They're all wanting to do as good as they can, and it's great to see that side of the community. Have a quick look at this Racing Engineers Mercedes of Tom Goodwrench. I usually speak quite highly of the Racing Engineers liveries, and this is no different. It's the same design, albeit on a different car, but I am a big fan of this design. Racing Engineers, both running on the same part of the track at the moment. We've got Grumpy Old Fart, you can just see in the background there in P11. Let's jump on board with him. Coming into the end of practice now. Going to get excited for qualifying, see who's going to start up at the front of this grid. We've got Slayer, Minimus, Blankfile, Glenn, Linus, Redacted, Bill, Steve, Tom Goodwrench and Teeny is all making up your top 10, ranging from a 335 down to a 339. So we've got varying degrees of car setup there, whether it be qualifying or race trim. So we're going to see some serious pace coming up in qualifying. It's going to be quite the fight for P1. Take a quick look at the championship side of things. We've got MVRC currently on 515 points, well out in the lead, and it's fair to say that they've all but got that sewn up with only 3 races to go, including tonight. It's nearly 100 points back to, well, actually second place was SSR, but they're no longer in the championship, so it's well over 100 points back to second place KCSR. So yeah, MVRC all but sewn that one up. But it is a fight. It's quite the fight for P2 with 3 races to go. KCSR, RRC, AMSU, 10 tenths and NRT, all within about 50 points. So, you know, you got 5 teams there fighting for P2. We don't need to be worrying too much about the All-Right Championship anymore, but the P2 race, it's going to be special. We're going to have our eyes all over it. Got the final few cars finishing up now in practice before we hit the track for qualifying, private qualifying. We might have to run with Minimus at the very beginning and one of the MVRC boys and see how his first attempts go. Lausanne here looking like it's going to be the last one on track. Beautiful Mercedes, this one. I'm a really big fan of this blue. What would you call that blue? Cobalt blue or something like that, maybe? I don't know. It looks really nice. Alright, all set for quali. Slayer topping the times there by just under a tenth over his teammate Minimus. Savage Paddy in the chat. Hey, Savage Paddy. Pretty amped for a MVRC 1-2 there at the end of practice. See if they can repeat that in qualifying. So I think we'll check out Minimus at the very start here. See what the first lap on the board for Minimus can be. This is obviously the out lap. Got a nice scenic sort of bit of sunset going on here. Beautiful lighting. So 10-minute qualifying session, and we're looking at just over 3.5 minutes for a lap, so obviously a bit longer than that on an out lap as well. So not too many laps are going to be up for grabs in qualifying as far as how many you can put down. So you really got to make them count. Maybe 2 or 3 laps, I'd say, if you really get everything right. So you can't really be making too many mistakes, but you're also not going to want to be leaving too much margin out there as well, because that's lap time. And that's going to see you starting from way down the grid if you take it a bit too easy. So yeah, let's see these guys pushing to the absolute limit with only a few shots at it. Probably a couple. Food luck, everyone, says Savage Paddy. I agree, food luck. I don't quite know the circuit names as well as I did last week with the Adelaide circuit. Adelaide circuit being a bit more in my neck of the woods. I know some of them though. I'm pretty sure we're coming up to Indianapolis, and then you've got the Porsche curves. Beautiful MVRC livery as always, the blue and the red. Very striking, unmissable. The MV on the hood almost menacing in the mirrors with the performances we've come to expect of MVRC. Seeing one of those in your rearview mirror would be intimidating. Alright, coming up to the final chicanes, so about to start the first push lap here for Minimus. Let's jump on board on the cockpit cam. Or it might be a little bit laggy from my end of the world to be on cockpit cam actually. It's going to make the drivers look pretty bad with the ping difference. Full push here in the opening sector for Minimus. Kept it pretty clean so far. About to take the fast right-hander onto the Mulsanne straight. It's gone pretty wide there. I don't think that's out of track limits though. The track limits are pretty forgiving on this circuit. Let's jump on board and see what we top out down here. Top speed wise. We're hitting 320 kilometers an hour here. Oh, I saw 327 kilometers an hour. That is moving. Looking really clean here for Minimus. Let's hope he's not leaving too much on the table. But it is the first run. Like, you do kind of want to make a bit of a banker out of it. Make sure you're not making too many mistakes. But in saying that, it's still got to be quick because you're only going to get one or two more laps. And who knows what's going to happen on those laps, you know? So Minimus looking clean, though. And looking fast. That's the important part. Down to 3.5 minutes. So yeah, it's going to be 2 laps by the time he crosses the start line. He's only going to have enough time for that one more. So 2 push laps. That's all they're getting. Got our first time on the board, Donnie right there with a 4:01. That's very much an outlap time, that one. Let's not worry too much about that. Unless people are getting 0 times, then that's not going to be relevant. But I dare say, with only 2 push laps available time-wise, there could very well be a few people not setting a time at all with invalidations and whatnot. Let's see if this one's going to count for Minimus. Don't really have any way of knowing if he's had invalidations or not. Minimus crosses the line with a 3:35.9. That is only about 4/10ths off his practice pace, so to come out of the blocks in qualifying and go berserk like that, instead of 3:35 off the bat, that's really good. He's going to want to keep that pace going on this momentum for his one final remaining push lap. Blankfile has managed to set a 3:36, so less than a tenth of a second behind Minimus. Minimus has since been overtaken by Slayer 72 with a 3:35.7. That's blistering pace. That's quicker than anyone managed in the practice session. I'm keen to ride on board here with Blankfile, who's now been pushed down to third, for his second push lap chance to see if he can improve on that 3:36 and dethrone one of the MVRC cars potentially. But so far it's looking really good for MVRC still. It's that 1-2 just like we saw at the end of the pre-practice. But there's not a lot in it. Like I said, less than a tenth between Blankfile and Minimus. So if Blankfile can get himself onto the front row, that'll go a long way to providing some confidence to fight with the MVRC cars. Still got a lot of cars coming over the line now, but we've seen a lot more cars come over the line to start a second lap than we have set an actual lap time. So that tells me there was a lot of invalidations for a lot of people on that opening run. So if they don't keep it clean this time, they're going to come across the line, like I said, with that 0 time, and that makes that out lap time of Nonny Rats 401 a lot more relevant than it should be. Blankfile right on the cusp of that 3:35. Steve Kenwood popping up into P4 with a 3:38.5. That's 2.5 seconds from P3 to P4. And that's qualifying complete. So if you haven't started a fresh lap, you're done. You don't get another chance. This is it. The lap you're on is your only shot. So Glenn, Chris, Pines have all crossed the line without, or with time, some of them. Pines, no lap time, taking the checkered flag. That is not a great result for a driver who was in the top 10 at the end of free practice. He's really going to be upset with that. I know I would be. Glenn with a 3:39.8 as he's crossed the line. That's not too bad, very respectable. Obviously, just getting a lap time at this point is something. Will this be an improvement for Blankfile? Can he upset MVRC and put himself onto the front row? Minimus on track in front of Blankfile, so we may see an improvement for Minimus momentarily. He's improved to a 3:35.6. Can Blankfile improve more than that? He does. He goes into provisional pole with a 3:35.2, just taking over Slayer. But let's check out Slayer because he's coming up to finish his second flying lap and he was holding pole before that. Can he take pole back? Blankfile's put himself on the front row. Can Slayer take pole? He does. He goes to a 3:35.1, stealing pole back off Blankfile. But Blankfile, I'm sure, will be a lot happier than he was before. He's managed to slot himself up into the front row. Less than a tenth of a second between pole and P2. That was an exciting qualifying session. So far, only the one driver having crossed the line and hitting the checking flag without a time set being Tines. You can ignore Cueto there, that's me. I'm not participating. Frano improving quite a lot, getting up into that P4 spot with a 3:36.9 for AMSU. Redacted in P5, 3:37.1 for 10/10ths. Slipstream 3:37.2. Then we've got the first RRC car down in P7 of Daniele Gabbardi with 3:37.8. Normally see the RRC cars up in that second or third row, so that is a little low for them. A lot can happen over an hour though. So Chris Bloom here of Club 50 with that shared NRT livery is still got to cross the line without a time. So is Grumpy Old Fart. Can they get a time on the board? He manages a 3:46. It's not great, but it does go ahead of Nonny Rat's outlap time. So after all is said and done, the only driver, unfortunately, to miss out on setting a lap time is Tinez, down in P last. Very unfortunate. What a performance from Slayer, though. Held that P1 spot at the end of the first lap. Then managed to snatch it back off Blank File at the end of the second lap. So very well done. Minimus obviously setting some blinding pace as well, only a few tenths back. And he was fighting over that second row spot with Blank File for that whole session. Didn't really get to see too much of what else happened because it was just so intense for that fight for pole. But it looks like we've got a really even spread of teams throughout the grid. So racing's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. We just have a little short break until 14 past the hour before we get this race underway. Yeah, unfortunate there for Tinez to not set a lap time. I have somehow out-qualified him. It's not very fair because I didn't even attempt to set a lap time. At least he attempted it. And Nonny Rat, like I said, Nonny Rat's outlap time became a little more relevant at the end there with Tinez not setting a time, so he's kept himself away from dead last at least. Chris Bloom obviously not able to string something together, but that's better than hitting track limits and not setting a lap at all. Then it just starts getting crazy from about P14 up. It's just close. There we go, 0.073, the gap between P1 and P2 at the end of it. So the Porsche, not too slow. And if it's as miserly on its fuel as we're led to believe, then Blank File could really throw a cat amongst the pigeons, so to speak. Take a win here, take some crucial points back off MVRC. Not that it'll do much in the grand scheme of things. MVRC have this championship sewn up, but Blank File obviously wanting to get maximum points in that fight for P2 in the championship. 5 teams realistically in that fight for P2, so that's the one to pay attention to. MVRC just running a clinic in this championship with no competition. Doing a Red Bull 2023. Or a McLaren 1988. And we're just about ready to get the race underway. It was 14 past the hour, so only about a minute to get onto that stage. Put that race label on now, because that's what we've got next. We've got our starting grid assigned. Blank File thoroughly sandwiched by MVRC cars there. Linus in a similar position down in P9, sandwiched by RRC cars of Daniele Gabbardi and Grandpa Bear. Expecting to go to the race session any moment now. And here we are, ready for the short rolling start. I hope these guys are nice and careful through the final chicanes here at this opening start. It can be a bit tricky. These cars are going to be big and cumbersome, and they're really tight chicanes to navigate when you're trying to jostle for a grid spot. Beautiful day, barely any clouds. Looking at around about 28 degrees Celsius, about 38 degrees track temperature. Now that's obviously going to change because we're getting a full 24-hour day and night cycle over this 60-minute race, so very accelerated time. So the temperatures will drop and raise a fair bit, I'd say. It's currently midday. But we're going to be moving time at a rapid rate. Oh, the drivers are readying up. Except me. Naturally. Because I'm not driving. Let's hope that doesn't mess up Tinez, because he's like somehow meant to be below me. Hope it doesn't drop him like 5 car lengths back or something and give him a penalty. Let's hope nothing weird like that happens. All right. I'm getting excited for this race start. Blank file. Right in the middle of 2 MVRC cars in those top 3 spots. It's going to be really interesting. Everyone else looking to filter out through this opening sector. And then it's all hell breaks loose on the Mulsanne straight as they start trying to fight for position and slipstreaming each other. You're going to have a really tight pack going down that straight, trying to go 4 and 5 wide, I'm guessing. This is going to be exciting. Buckle yourself up, because we've got a hell of a race coming up. Slayer 72 leading the pack, and he goes. He's punched it, but Blankfile has gotten. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, that was a weird start there. I don't know what was going on there. Blankfile went and then slowed down, and now he's got a car running up the inside of him. This could cause some serious carnage going into the first corners. Cars going off everywhere. All throughout the field. No serious damage though. Chris Bloom looks like he's been the big loser amongst those early skirmishes. Not to mention Minimus. Minimus has dropped down to P5. Looks like he's fighting his way back to P4 with Frano there, as you can see at the top of the screen. Sorry, with Grumpy Old Fart. Slayer having maintained P1. But he's now got Blankfile trying to close him down with the slipstream. It's not closing him down all that quickly. So we've got Slayer, Blankfile, Redacted, Frano coming out of the first chicane on the Mulsanne straight as your top 4. Then a small gap back to Daniele Gabardi, who's been a big gainer from the start, down in P8 I think it was at the very beginning. Let's go chase cam and go back to some of these guys, because this is a crazy view. Let's see what happens here. Minimus now down to P8. He's really filtering back. I'm not sure what's going on here with Minimus. Started off P3, then ended up P5 out of the first sector, and now he's down to P8. He's getting swallowed up, and it looks like Linus might be about to take him on the slipstream. Can he take him on the brakes? That's a negative. Oh, a little bit of contact there, nothing too crazy. Here we are, we got Redacted now fighting Blankfile for P2. So this is quite the start for Redacted here of 10/10ths. He's really capitalized on that sort of early sort of confusion between everyone at the beginning there that looked like it might have been caused by Blankfile trying to gun it a bit early. We really need to see what happened after the race though. Yeah, Jonathan in the chat, nice clean start. Big smile, that chicane is a nightmare, I agree. So, now they have overall done really well. There was a little bit of pushing and shoving and some drivers going a bit off track, but nothing too crazy. No one's really died out of it. So overall, pretty clean. Everyone giving fair racing room, which is what we want to see. Oh no! Redacted's gone. He's off into the wall. I was slightly glancing away then, and I kind of missed if there was anything that caused that, but it kind of looked to me like he just lost it on his own. I hope there was no contact from anyone. We don't really want to be seeing any of that going on. So Blankfile staying within a second of Slayer right now. He's going to want to stay right on him if he can make if he wants to start making the most of that fuel saving ability of that Porsche. He's not going to want to lose too much lap time to Slayer. A little bit of a gap back to Frano now. He's feeling the pressure from Daniele Gabbardi behind him in that red and white Nissan. Beautiful car, to be honest. That Nissan, and that blue on that AMS2 Mercedes. Said it during practice. I love that blue. So those two cars can fight all race long, and I'll be happy. That's a cool combo. Way back down in P19, P20 we have Glenn here. Looks like he might have been in the pits early, might have been a bit of a mishap there. Redacted currently in the pits after that massive slide off into the wall on the Porsche curve. So hopefully he can recover something out of this. We do have cars fighting here. This is P11 and P12. So you got P11 there, Chris H in the NRT and Club 50 shared livery. Right behind him, Carapau in the black, yellow and white SRGP livery. The black, yellow and white liveries of SRGP would be one of my faves. I just love that colour combination. Here we have Roy putting a move on. Trying to put a move on. He's right behind Tines, P13 and P14, so pretty good ground overall made up by Tines here. He's just kept his nose clean, and he's managed to go up from last to P13 already. Roy currently trying to get some sort of draft out of it and make a move. We've got cars further ahead doing the same thing. We've got SRGP's Noni-Rat putting a move on Raptor, or trying. Not quite having enough of an overlap there to really have a go on the brakes. And here we have Steve Kenward putting the move on Tom Goodwrench for P7. And he's got Linus following him through. So initially that was a pretty good start for Tom Goodwrench, because he was down in P13 I believe at the very beginning. So he's up to P9, but he has lost a couple of positions just there. But it's an overall gain. This guy's filtering a little bit. It looks as though we've had, yeah, look at that. We've had Daniele Gabbardi's managed to get his way in front of Frano in this fight. The fight for P3. So RRC, who started the race down in, I think it was like row 4, have now got one of their drivers up into P3, into podium contention, fighting with Frano here. It's been a dreadful start for Minimus. He's now down in 18th position. I don't know what's been happening for Minimus, but every time I look at him, he's lost a good fistful of positions. Cannot afford to lose many more, or he's going to be at the very back of the field. I don't know what's going on here, whether he has damage or what. His car looks good. Now fighting back up to P16. Don't know if it's all just falling apart a wee bit. Martinez and Chris H now running really close together. These are teammates. This is both your NRT cars running in P10 and P11. I don't think they're going to be fighting too hard, but Chris has run wide off the track there a wee bit, so he's had no choice but to let Tinez through. Will he force a fight? He's kind of going to have to if he wants to defend from Roy. RPM's Roy, who's now getting into the thick of this. The fight for P10, everybody. It's what you should be watching. Well, Carapau down in P13's joining in on this fight. 4 cars fighting for P10. 2 of them teammates. But Roy managing to grab a spot off Chris there, capitalising on Chris's earlier moment running off the track. Can Carapau do the same and come through here? There's going to be an overall loss of about 3 positions for Chris H. He's going to want to lock in after that. Let's go up a few positions and check out what's going on up here with Linus, Grumpy Old Far, and Tom Goodwrench, because we've got Linus in the middle of a racing engineer's sandwich. Tom Goodwrench looks like he's going to go for the move. No, he doesn't really have enough in it to try diving on the brakes there. So Tinny is the overall gainer out of this small battle here. Look at him, he's at the front of a wee train for now. See if he can run away from it. This has been a really good start of the race for Tinez. We're only on lap 4 I think we're on. And, no, lap 3. And he's gone from the very back of the grid up to P10. So he's already chopped through half the grid. If he keeps going at this rate, not that I think he can keep going at this rate, but if he keeps going at this rate, he's going to be in the lead after 6 laps. He does have a gap now. It's about 6 seconds up the road to Tom Goodwrench in P9. So that fight for these guys, for that P10 position, has held them up a wee bit. They've lost a lot of time to that next group, which is led by Grandpa Bear. P5, driving for RC in the Mercedes there, followed by Steve Kenwood, Grumpy Old Fart, Linus, and Tom Goodwrench. P5 through to 9. Your battle for P3 is still sitting there. It's a bit stale at the moment. Got a little bit of a gap. Frano has taken it back though, off Daniele Gabbardi at some point. I haven't seen that. But these guys may just keep swapping positions till the end of the race, as long as they keep it clean. Can't really afford to go hitting each other. Blankfile's still sitting in that 1 second behind Slayer, so this could well be everything going to plan for Blankfile, because if he can save a lot of fuel and gain a lot of time in the pit stop base, he might be onto a winner here. Yet to be seen. But if he can keep making good use of the slipstream, minimizing his straight line speed loss, then he'll be fine. Just can't really afford any big mistakes. Slayer is occasionally looking looking to try breaking that toe. He's well aware of the ever-present threat of blank file. Martinez with a little gap now to Minimus and P10. Minimus managing to claw back some positions here. That's really good to see. Not too sure what was going on with him in the early phase of the race, where he dropped from P3 down to, well, he dropped all the way down to P18 at one point. But he's clawing some of those positions back now, realizing he's got to go help Slayer. Slayer just keeping blank file just behind. 3/4 of a second in it right now. Martinez looking clean, keeping the pace up, and he's able to slowly but surely build that gap back to that P10 spot. If Chris and Minimus can keep fighting, he'll see that in the rearview mirror and say, yes, keep fighting, you're costing yourselves time, keep doing that. Because the gap to Tom Goodwrench is now only about 4 seconds, so he's closing up on him, and that could be P8 if he can get by him. So that's going to be a really good race for Martinez if he can finish up in these top 10, maybe even top 5 positions after starting from dead last. Let's look a little further back because we've got Minimus and Chris H running side by side down towards Indianapolis. Minimus hungry to gain back another spot here. Both of them running the Nissan. Oh, it's a beautiful sound, that car. It's a lot of turbocharged power. Minimus holding the inside there, able to keep the position. That's bringing Lasan a little bit more into the fight, and that gorgeous cobalt blue. I'm going with cobalt blue. Cobalt blue Mercedes looks beautiful. Let's go up to P6 and P7 because we've got Steve Kenwood of Club 50 battling fiercely with Linus of 10/10 just ahead of him. That's a lot of pressure that Steve's trying to pile onto Linus there. That's what you've got to be doing. We've got Grumpy Old Fart in the pits. I don't know if that's scheduled or if he's had some damage. Let's take a quick look. He's coming out now. It might have been an early fuel up. He might have just been trying to get his early fuel up out of the way. Oh, actually, looking at his time, he's quite far off. He might have had some serious trouble. Blank file, still just hanging on to the back of Slayer. 7/10. He's almost looking like he's in a position to put a bit of a move on if he can really gain up here on the straights and through the chicanes. Minimus actually able to stretch away under brakes there a little bit. The poor old Grumpy Old Fart now down in P20. I think he's a lap or two off the back, maybe a lap off the back. So that's a shame, but at least he's amongst the traffic, you know, he's not going to be too bored. Probably the closest battle we've got on track at the moment. Linus and Grandpa B are really fighting over this P5 spot now. Steve Kimwood must have had a little bit of an issue because he's now dropped back to... He's dropped out of that fight. He was trying to fight with Linus just before. Files managed to get himself to within half a second of Slayer. Maybe Slayer might be starting to feel the pressure. This is an MVRC versus KCSR battle. It's almost like a changing of the guard type of battle, because KCSR, I'm pretty sure, are the reigning and 3 in a row AMS2 Community Cup champions. MVRC is very much going to be dethroning them in this championship. Just doesn't quite have the legs to really do anything about that. Nissan up front. Starting to get dark for these fellas now. More and more headlights starting to pop on. So Minimus and Tines, I think, are also running fiercely here. So Tom Goodwrench has managed to... Well, he's stayed up in P8. He's got Tines only a couple of seconds off him now, but Tines is starting to feel some pressure here from Minimus. And he's got one of them bloody rapid Nissans in a straight line, so... Well, so does Tines, though. They're in the same car. So this is going to be quite the fight. They're going to run themselves side by side again. Really fierce here. They're really scrapping for track position here. The battle for P5 is also raging on still. Grandpa Bear going a little wide there, going into the Porsche curves. That takes a little bit of the pressure off Linus just ahead, and he's going to start feeling a bit more from Steve Kimwood now, just behind. Blank bar running headlights off. It's pretty dark now. Keeps himself nice and camo from Slayer's mirrors, I'm sure. Oh, there go the lights for Blank Bar. You can see now. Slayer just running away with that straight line speed. He can't do anything about it, even with the slipstream. Minimus starting to break away from Tinez a little bit here. Minimus really trying to claw back those early lost positions. He's managed to gain 9 of them back, because he did drop all the way down to P18 in those early laps, and he's got himself back to P9 now. Tinez also still at that halfway point where he managed to get himself up to from starting at the very last place on the grid. So it's been an excellent job for Tinez, but he's starting to sort of stall out a wee bit. That was kind of where he was lap time wise in free practice, so it makes sense that he's going to really struggle now to make some big inroads. Only half a minute off the outright leaders, which is really good going considering where he started. Frano in P3 with a bit of a gap to Daniele Gabbardi now. So turn your lights on, Frano. You might be able to see where you're going a bit better. Maybe that's his secret. Maybe he just does it by feel. He doesn't need to see where he's going. Daniele Gabbardi about 4.5-5 seconds behind Frano in P4. We're getting close to the halfway point of the race. Linus in P5. He's now got to get back to Steve Kenwood. Steve Kenwood fiercely fighting over P6 with Grandpa Bear. They are nearly bumper to bumper through the Porsche curves. He's got Minimus joining the party now. They've been fighting so much. Minimus is here to keep them both in check. Oh, a little bit of a mistake there from Grandpa BSC. So Minimus and Steve Kenwood slip through. Minimus looks like he might take 2 positions out of this. He's going to be in the outside going into T1 though. But he's taken it. He's committed. Wow, this is really good so far from Minimus. He's managed to really lock in after the early few laps where he really struggled, and he's getting himself back into the game. 27 seconds off the lead. But he's now up to P6, considering he was down to P18. That's insanely impressive. So well done to Minimus here. He's not out of the woods yet. He's got Steve Kenwood right behind him, wanting to put some pressure on, slipstream him down into the chicanes. Oh, let's go to the very lead of the race, because I have missed something critical. Blank File now leads the race. Slayer 72 is 8.3 seconds behind, and he's only just in front of Frano now. Does he have damage? I want to know what happened to Slayer I always miss these monstrous incidents, and I never have the ability to replay and see what happened until after, so I just have to use my imagination to think about what might have happened. I think Slayer maybe lost the car. I hope there wasn't an incident between himself and Blankfile. I dare say if there was, Blankfile would have waited for him, so perhaps he's just lost the car. Bit of a shame. He's managed to not lose P3 as well though, so Frano's going to want to capitalise if he can put that pace down and stay with Slayer. Just see 4th place Daniele Gabbardi coming around the corner as well there. So interesting there. I don't know what went on with Slayer 72, but he's sitting about 8 seconds behind Blankfile now. Everything just sort of falling into place for Blankfile, but he does struggle with that straight line speed a lot. But could this be enough for his very fuel efficient Porsche to take the win now? Time will tell. We're nearly at halfway. We'll know in just over half an hour. We do still have plenty of fights on track. Because let's look at Minimus. Minimus is now all over the back of Linus in P5. And he's got Steve Kenwood over the back of him. So can Minimus keep the momentum going and take P5 here from Linus? Slayer's dropped back to just over 9 seconds behind Blankfile now, so I don't know what's going on there. Potentially some damage. Let's see if he comes into the pit lane. If he doesn't, then you just have to assume everything's all good. Which he does, he just carries on, so... But this is looking fierce though. Minimus is all over the back of Linus here. Coming into the final chicanes, Linus deciding that he just wants to get out of that. That was stressful, so he's peeled off into the pit lane. Minimus takes P5. He's going to be able to use his pace now to try to build a gap. Try to build on this, you know, build on this momentum and close in what is more than a 10-second gap to Daniele Gabbardi in P4. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's got half an hour to do it, so he's not out of the podium positions, that's for sure. Steve Kenwood doing a really good job here of just moving through the pack as well with Minimus in behind him and just keeping it clean. He can stay on the back of Minimus. Potentially even take P5 off him. I'd really like to know what happened to Slayer there. Very unfortunate. But it does see KCSR move into the lead of the race with Blankfile. Ooh, bit of a mishap there for Steve Kenwood, I think, through the chicane. Tina's trying to stay with Tom Goodwrench here. Tina's up to P8 after some people making some pit stops. We're going to see more and more people diving into the pits, I'd say. Although, a lot of these people should be able to go quite a bit longer on their fuel. Some people may just want a fresh set of tyres. They may have destroyed the ones they had. You do lose a lot more time if you take tyres in the pits though, because they don't go on at the same time as the fuel goes in. You have to wait for each one to be done. So it takes you a lot more time if you want to get tyres as well. So ideally you probably would only replace the tyres if you destroyed them completely. Grandpa Bear is coming into the pits, or leaving the pits now, should I say. Nonny rat into the pits. Boy, all over the back of Grandpa Bear now. For RPM. RPM running P11 and P12 on the track. Oh, he's all over the back of him now. Oh! Oh, they've had an incident. I've managed to capture an incident. That is absolute disaster. That is absolute disaster for Grandpa Bear. I don't really know what's happened there. And it's impossible to judge from my feed because the lag. often makes things look far different to what actually happened. So we can't judge what happened there, but that is very unfortunate. That's all we know. Martinez now managing to pull himself out of that battle with Tom Goodwrench and dives himself into the pits, filling up that fuel tank in that Nissan. Well, he won't be filling it up, but he'll be certainly putting enough in to get him to the end of the race. 22 minutes to go. So Glenel's has gone through in the McLaren with the beautiful KCSR livery on it. That's a really nice car. Those McLarens just look so good, and listen to that sound. Don't see enough of those on. There's not enough of them on the track for my liking. Martinez now coming out of the pits. Just had Raptor just go on by him. Pretty sure Raptor is still to pit though. Roy now in the pits, as well as Grandpa Bear again after that incident. I'm assuming both of them have damage to repair. A really big shame. Martinez now will be looking to get back in front of Raptor here. Let's see how these guys come out of the pit lane. Grandpa Bear still getting repairs done. Roy coming out now in P13. He does have Nonny Rat closing up on him. So we are yet to see any of our top cars pit. Way down to P7, I think. Maybe even P8. I don't think Glenn has pit. I know Tina's has though, so yeah, those top cars still to pit. Still plenty to happen. We do have about a 10-second gap between P3 and P4 now, so your podium positions, unless drivers make some serious mistakes, your podium positions are pretty well set. But these races, as we've seen, plenty of mistakes can happen. Carapow down in P16 here, just behind Chris H of NRT. A few cars dropped out now, obviously. We can only see 18 running on the leaderboard. There was at least, I think, about 22 at the beginning, maybe 21, I think. So we've had a few drop out of the race, sadly. Probably picked up a bit too much damage. Raptor not too far off the back of Tinez. Be interesting to see where Tinez filters once these guys start to pit ahead of him. So we know that Minimus, Steve Kenwood and Tom Goodwrench were all sort of in that fight with Tinez. So once they start pitting, it'd be really interesting to see if they were able to hold a bit more pace, or if Tinez has been able to hold more pace since the pit stop. So it's going to be interesting. We do have Tom Goodwrench in the pits now from P7. The first of that front running group to come in. Obviously, the longer you can leave it to come in, the less fuel you need to put on. So your pit stop will be a bit shorter. So you've got an advantage the longer you can stay out in that regard. Redacted. Shame I had a seat malfunction. Had some great pace. Ah, yes. IRL mechanical failure, we'll call it. I was wondering what happened there, Redacted. I did see that. And, yeah, no, that was a tragic moment in the early stages. Tough luck, man. You had really good pace. Really good progress off the line, too. So Tom Goodwrench has managed to come out behind Tinez. So that answers that. Tinez with about 4 seconds ahead. He's got Raptor all over him, but crucially he's come out in front of Raptor, so he's going to be happy about that. Not getting held up like Tinez did. But Tinez obviously with the overall pace gain with that earlier stop. Chris H still currently holding off Nonny Rat and Carapau. He's got the whole SRGP team behind him, which is where he wants them to be, I'm sure. On board with Tom Goodwrench here in P9, looking at the back of Tinez, just in the very close distance there. Certainly not a 6-second gap like it says on the leaderboard. Don't know what that's all about. But we're getting there. We do still have quite a few people still to pit. So Minimus, Steve Kenwood, Glenn, Daniele, Frano, Slayer, Blankfile, I'm pretty sure all still to pit. So there's a lot to play for here. Minimus, Tinez looks like he could be making some pretty good gains once others come into pit. He's just quietly been working. A lot of confusion definitely, but it was a fantastic start. Can't wait to see what I can do next race. Yeah, cheers Redacted. It was a great start, and there definitely was confusion. It looked, from my point of view, looked like there might have been a little bit of confusion from Blankfire with regards to gunning it a little bit out of the final chicane and then pulling it back in a wee bit. So that might have caused the rest of the pack to react a bit negatively. Yeah, hard to say in those situations. It's always a tough one, but yeah, you managed to capitalise well on it, that's for sure. Minimus, he had quite an atrocious start. He started the race P3, managed to filter all the way back down to P18 after the first few laps, but since then he's done really well to claw a lot back. And as I say that, we've got a lot of these front-running guys now coming in and out of the pit lane, so if we have a look at Tinez, he is... Minimus is going to get out in front of him. So is Daniele Gabbardi, but Minimus has made a big gain on Daniele Gabbardi there. Tinez not in front of Minimus, but he is going to get in front of Glenn. And he is going to get in front of Steve Kenwood. So that is a big gain for Tinez. He was down in I think it was P8, P9 before the pit stop phase, and that earlier pit stop, and just staying locked in without people around him has managed to see him filter back out into P6 now. He's going to struggle to catch up to Minimus, but I'm pretty sure he'll be very happy with P6 after starting in dead last. Minimus now wanting to put all kinds of pressure on Daniele Gabbardi. He's up to P5, but why stop there? P4 is right in front. Nissan on Nissan. MVRC versus RRC. Coming into the chicane here. Minimus manages to get the move done. Can he get a good exit and make it defendable when going into the second chicane? Headlights still going crazy. You can turn them off now, guys. FYI. "13 minutes to go in this race. Blankfile with a 53-second lead. So I'm going to go ahead and say everyone in this race is pitted now except Blankfile. But Blankfile, we did know, had the ultra miserly Porsche. And I think he's been doing, based on what I've been looking at, I'd say he's been doing a really good job of fuel saving. So I don't know if he's going to go the whole way on a zero stop, or if he's just going to come in for a really quick splash close to the end. But either way, he's nailed this. Can Daniele Gabbardi come back at Minimus now? Looks like Minimus might have stretched a bit of a gap. Blankfile now coming into pit from the lead. So Slayer, he's only approaching the Porsche curves now. I don't think Blankfile is going to have to be stopped for very long at all, because he's not going to have a lot of fuel put in. Yeah, look at that. I'm pretty sure he's ready to go. Yeah, it was not stopped for very long at all. He's going to come out into the lead of this race by a lot. Slayer not even at the final chicanes yet. And Blankfile exiting the pit lane now. Yeah, he's just got to drive it home. He's got to cruise home now. Daniele Gabbardi trying to stay with Minimus here. Minimus just putting in that pace. The pace that saw him take P3 on the grid. The pace that he wasn't able to find in the first few laps of the race. But he's been working over the last 50 minutes to find it again, and he's done a really good job. Reno looks like he's closing up on Slayer. The battle for P2 might not be done. That beautiful cobalt blue Mercedes is not looking all that much beautiful anymore. Taking a few smacks by the looks of it. Raptor coming in for a stop. It's only going to be a little splash, much like Blankfile, because he's in the Porsche as well. Been saving a lot of gas. So, let's see if he can come out in front of Roy, his teammate. He should be able to. Yeah, easy. Roy's busy fighting with Chris for P13. Chris here, just slightly back, but not a lot in it. Minimus and Daniele Gabbardi still fiercely fighting over P4. Daniele Gabbardi hasn't been completely dropped yet. Minimus can't let off the gas. I'm hoping this fight for P2 heats up a little more in the very closing stages. Less than 10 minutes to go now. But I want to see these boys fighting for this P2 spot. Fiercely. Get to work, Frano. Got to close up that gap a little more. And I tell you what, TNS isn't completely out of the woods in P6 just yet, because although he has managed to come out of the pits ahead of Tom just there behind him, Tom ain't that far behind, so he could still put a lot of pressure on TNS in the dying stages of this race. So realistically, we have battles for P2, P4, P6 and P13. Although when I say the battle for P6, that's what it looks like. It's not strictly a battle, but they're all within reach of it. Same with the battle for P4. Minimus is stretching that slightly, little by little. The battle for P2 though, very much not over. Let's jump on the roof cam. Frano. You can see that red and blue red and blue Slayer 72 MVRC car just ahead. Tantalizingly close. ...17-second lead for Blankfile and the Porsche. He's going to feel pretty good if he can hold this together and get the win for KCSR. Would be interesting to know what's happening in Server 1. I don't really have the facilities nor mental capacity to keep an eye on that one at the same time. Anyone in the comments is watching both, let me know how Server 1's going. Mind you, I think you can only see GT1's view on that one. On board here with the racing engineers, Tom Goodwrench. A few seconds off the back of Tines now. Realistically, Tines just needs to keep it clean and for the next 6 minutes, and he should be able to hold on to P6. But that's not a given. It's pretty easy to make a mistake. Now, if you further down the grid, riding on board with Chris H of NRT and P14, he's looking straight at the rear end of that Porsche of Roy, driving for RPM. He's gaining on him. Quite a lot of straight line speed over Roy in that Porsche. The Porsche doesn't quite have the straight line legs of the Nissan. If Chris can hold on here as he goes on to the Mulsanne straight, he should be able to get in that slipstream and make a move on Roy. The fight for P13. It might only be P13, but every position matters. Struggles to hold on to Roy a little bit through those corners. I feel like Roy might be running a fair bit more rear wing. Look at how quickly Chris is able to close in here. Oh, the closing speed is rapid. Nicely done there from Chris. Picks P13 off Roy. Don't think Roy has anything to really do. See, he doesn't have the wing. He doesn't have the legs. He's got too much wing to be able to chase him back down. We've got another little battle forming here for P9. We've got Glenn in the KCSR McLaren, all over the back of Linus's 10/10ths car. So McLaren versus Nissan. Now, does the McLaren have the legs to pull a move on the Nissan? Glenn here slipstreaming Linus. Running too wide now. Is he going to be able to take him on the brakes? Slips through, getting the move done. Glenn able to stick to the gearbox though as he comes out of the chicane. Is he able to put a move on? Get that turbo Nissan screaming. Come back at him. Certainly looks like he's going to make a go of it. Running side by side again. Linus didn't quite get the best exit out of that second chicane. Only got about a minute and a half to go now. So I think we're going to be seeing one more lap after the one blank file's on currently. Quickly check out blank file. Yeah, he's going to get that 17th lap started. Meanwhile, Linus and Glenn are going fierce like this is lap 1. Inez has managed to take the P5 spot off Daniele Gabbardi. Might have been a bit of a mistake there from Daniele's part. Meanwhile, Glenn and Linus are racking these cars around the track. Linus a bit offline going through these Porsche curves. Might be struggling a bit on his tyres now. Letting Glenn run away a little bit. We're on the final lap. Is Frano going to be able to do anything to Slayer here? He's way too far back to be really making a fight for P2 out of this. Still got like half a lap to go. It's not over. Never give up. And what are we looking like in the fight here for P6? Daniele Gabbardi going off track there. He had lost P4 to Minimus, he'd lost P5 to Tenez, and now he's looking like he might lose P6 to Tom Goodwrench. He's lost it. He has lost P6 to Tom Goodwrench as they enter the Mulsanne straight. Blank file, putting on a clinic. 15 seconds in the lead over Slayer and P2. Frano in P3, he's been solid. Slayer and Frano have been absolutely solid. Well, Slayer had the one mishap, but I mean, we can forgive him. He's managed to keep hold of a convincing P2. Frano just driving the socks off his car. We have a car stuck on track. He's just left the game. I can't think it was Grandpa Bear? Yeah, it was Grandpa Bear. That's a shame. Just missing out on finishing the race. Frano not making any progress there. Whose car is that? That is smashed. Oh, it's Chris Bloom's Club 50 car. It doesn't even have a front end on it. Not very aerodynamically efficient, I'm afraid. Whoa, 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 whoa. Slayer has had a problem. Frano has slipped through for P2. What is going on? Slayer has had a problem. Blank file's now coming up. He's in the Porsche curves. He doesn't have very long to go before he's finishing this race in P1. We'll stay on board with the leader. Although I don't really want to see what happens here because, I mean, it's been so dramatic. There's still time for something else to happen. Blank file crossing the line. P1. Well done. So Slayer have the ability to come back with just the chicanes to go. No, he doesn't. It's basically done here. He's missed out on P2, but he's still on the podium. Well done to Frano. Such a solid drive. Sees him take P2. Minimus with that was really a race of two halves for Minimus. After falling all the way through the field in the early parts and then climbing all the way back to P4. He started in P3. Wasn't quite able to get back to there, but not far off. Finishes in P4. Tenez, the same sort of story here. He's had a nightmare in qualifying, not able to set a lap time and then able to drive back through the field to finish up in P5. That's quite the performance. Very well done. He's got Tom Goodwrench for the racing engineers just behind him in P6. And Steve Kenwood for Club 50 in P7. Then Daniele Gabbardi, who did fall away a little bit in that second stint. He was running in P4 for the first half of the race, now finishing up in P8 there. And Glenn in the McLaren F1 KCSR car. Linus in the Nissan. And Daniele Gabbardi, P9. Glenn, P10. Lausanne, P11. Raptor coming through now. He's going to finish up in P12. We've got some support there for Frano in the chat. Yeah, nah, he cooked. That was a really good performance from Frano today. Sitting in P3 the whole race after fighting with, I think he was fighting with Redacted for a little bit. And Daniele Gabbardi managed to cement himself into P3 and then with Slayer making that mistake late on, he takes P2. So yeah, no, really good performance from Frano. Really good podium. Chris H coming through to finish in P13. Roy P14 for RPM. That's your session host right there. We've got Carapau in P15 for SRGP. All right, we've got Blankfile in the broadcast chat now. So let's hear from Blankfile because that was quite the performance from Blankfile. He got away just behind Slayer, and I'm guessing just sat there and knew he was going to be able to save a lot of fuel and then just pounce at the end, because that's exactly what he did. Obviously, Slayer had some issues, but Blankfire. That was flawless. How did that go in your opinion?
Yeah, that went really, really well. I actually wasn't saving fuel, just going flat out. But the Porsche just doesn't use as much fuel as the other cars, so that's why I could take a lot less in the pit stop.
Yeah, no, that worked out basically as good as it could. So well done, man. Awesome job. And I got to say, Frano as well. So that was quite the performance. You were into P3 pretty early on. You managed to cement yourself into P3 over Daniele and a couple of others. And then taking that P2 from Slayer in the late stages, did he just have a bit of a mishap? Obviously, tell us about that, but obviously how your whole race went as well.
Well, Mr. Consistency strikes again.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, the Slayer had enough. I don't know what it's called. This S that you brake really fast after the hairpin. He had enough. He went through the gravel, and I just waited, build up my time, save a bit of fuel a bit less on the stop, and I managed to stay there, waiting for the mistake, because the Nissan was so quick on the straight.
Yeah, you could see that from the commentary point of view. It was pretty apparent how rapid that Nissan was in a straight line. I feel like Blankfile, I feel like it was pretty crucial that you could stay in the toe.
That gave me quite.
By the looks of it, in those
that
early,
gave me like 3 kilometers an hour.
in those early phases, that looked like it would have helped quite a lot. What about Slayer? How about we hear from Slayer, because you started at the very front of the field, then you just had a few moments, but overall the pace was crazy. How did your race go?
Well, yeah, run out of talent a few times, but now I started quite well. Obviously, Blankfile stayed in my draft quite well, and to be honest, at the end overall, I thought the Porsche surprised me quite a bit. So he did a great job there. But yeah, I was just trying to eke that gap out, get him out of me draft at the start, but he wouldn't go away. And then he got close when my tyres went off a bit. Porsche's better through curves and braking, so I knew my only real chance to stay in front, like if we were close, is on the straights, and then be out of his sort of like late lunge range on the brakes. But I clipped a curb and just got wheel spin coming through the fast chicane before you get onto the back straight, and it just put me into a slide. Luckily, I didn't have any damage, but it lost me about 12 seconds, and then I was going all right, and then run out of grip in the end, and we're going into Indianapolis. I locked up the front left, and it just put me into the gravel, so I had to be careful not to spin it up or end up fully into the barrier. I think I hit the barrier nice and square, which popped me back out, and then but unfortunately Frano got past, and I lost second, which is pretty gutting. I was content to let Blankfile out, have that win after my mistake. I'd still been happy with second, but I was a bit gutted I got third in the end after driving quite well, to be honest. So.
Yeah, well, there's certainly Frano certainly wasn't letting you away easy. He kept it consistent the whole race and kept the pressure on. Good race.
Yeah,
good clean race from everyone all round, though, to be honest.
Yeah, he kept me honest. I saw his lights in the background and that, and to be honest, he wasn't gaining so much. He was a nice distance. Every now and again, he'd take a couple of tenths out on me, but it's just that mistake cost me. Yeah,
I do want to hear from Minimus and Tines, though, because both of them had a very similar race in a lot of regards. Because Minimus, you started way up front, but then I'd like to know what happened in those early laps, because you just filtered all the way back down to, I think, P18 at one point before getting yourself back up to P4. And Tines, obviously, with your disaster in qualifying, managing to finish up in P4, that was quite similar in some regards. So tell us all about that stuff, guys.
You go ahead, Minimus. Oh, well, I know what happened with Minimus was, I don't know if you can speak, but he had an incident with someone and wanted to give the position back. So it was a self-induced penalty, I guess, that put him well behind me.
Right.
I knew that as he was one of the front runners, he was going to fly past me at some point. I didn't really defend, but I didn't make it easy for him to get past. I think Indianapolis, we ended up having a little bit of a side-by-side.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can speak.
There we
Yeah.
go. There we go.
Continue, please. Continue, please.
You go ahead, dude.
Oh, okay. It was horrible first lap. Like rolling start. Rob did some sleeping there. I almost crashed him. Didn't go on green light. We had to wait a bit. Then just weak defending. I didn't want to ruin anybody's race on first lap, so I gave few positions quite easy. And then we came to the last chicanes, and Linus was ahead of me. I thought I lifted early, I was braking early because I was expecting that everybody has different line there, different braking points there, and it just wasn't enough. So I bumped him, and we both spun, and then I think I was pretty much last after that. But
Who did you hit? Sorry.
Linus Fallimento from
Oh,
10/10, and really sorry for that. Before that, I think we went side by side with the Grumpy in one of the chicanes, and we just lightly touched, so I gave position back, and I think that's what Tines was talking about. But after first lap, it was fine. Got a lot of overtaking practice, and
Yeah,
just no more mistakes.
Yeah, both yourself and Tina's had a lot of overtaking practice in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of experience in practice in the tow, so hitting like 330 kilometers an hour at some points was scary as fuck, and I was having to lift and oh, sorry about the language. Yeah, braking, just let the race come to me. I wasn't particularly pushing. The Nissan did most of the work because it was so fast on a straight line, but yeah, my target was top 10, so P5, well chuffed. But there was no way I could keep up with Minimus. Once he was through, he was just gone.
Well
But great
done, dude.
recovery from him. Well done, Blanky, mate. But yeah, P5, well chuffed.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's extra bragging rights to win in that Porsche, to be honest, because that was quite a good effort.
Yeah. And
Well, clearly, if I had a set a lap in quali, I would have won by a mile. So maybe next time.
Obviously.
I spun in quali and then got a track limit. I think I started P20 or something like that.
Yeah,
But I
the
clawed
thing
it back to P10.
But Tines got it right. It's quite confusing at first when you get into slipstream and you have way more speed. Braking points, it's a bit of guesswork first couple of times. You kind of get used to it, and Nissan wasn't bad on brakes actually. Was the turn called after the longest straight where you have to kind of turn a bit right and brake before hairpin.
Yeah,
Bastardo.
I did pit fairly
That's
late,
surprisingly-
and I
it was
think I
actually
had.
quite stable there.
Yeah.
I think I might have had my brake ducts a little bit too close, and they might have started to overheat a little bit. In the second stint, I was having a few little deep on the brake moments, but yeah, it was good fun.
How much did you have?
Like
duct
20,
opening?
25 front, 30 rear, I think.
Oh yeah, that's way too little. We found
Yeah.
out that your temperatures, they seem to be fine, tires and brakes and everything, but it turned out that they would get way too hot during hard braking, so they will fade out every time when you need to brake hard. Yeah.
Well,
I
so
had 40, I think.
I'm
But
gonna.
everyone survived, pretty much.
They're nice and clean. Awesome.
Sounds good.
It was a very
Yeah,
clean
the
race.
Shepherd was clean also.
I often miss a lot of the big incidents on the races, but I don't think there was too many massive ones anyway in that race. It was quite clean.
Most incidents in our server were kind of self-inflicted, braking too deep or something like that.
Yes. Oh well, I'm gonna end up the broadcast now, but well done everyone again, especially podium finishers. Awesome job, and we'll see you
Well done,
guys in the next race, round 7.
Thanks, Quato. Well done, Blanky.
Well done, folks. See you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.
See you, chaps.